Hey guys, Brendan here. In this video I'm going to do a quick breakdown of how I made this. The idea behind this was to kind of work backwards. Normally when I make music, I start with like sound design, composition, arrangement, those kinds of things first. Then once all that's done and I get to the mixing process, that's when I start to care a little bit more about reading meters and checking to make sure everything is in check there. But for this one, I actually started with the spectrogram. I had it open on a second monitor, and as I was writing this piece, I was checking to see what it looked like and trying to make something that looked visually pleasing on a spectrogram. The spectrogram I'm using, by the way, is Vision 4X. So I started with this sound. So this one's pretty simple. It's just oscillator A on a sine wave, oscillator B on a triangle wave, shifted 4 octaves down. Oscillator B is modulating oscillator A via FM. Then there's a filter that gradually does a sweep down the spectrum. It's also running through a pretty generous helping of Valhalla room reverb. And then most of these I have a utility gain at the very end to automate the volume in and out as the element appears and disappears in the piece. This one is more or less just a simple sine wave sub using operator. The only thing I really automated, I believe, was the gain. And then I think I automated the pitch bend over time. Yeah, so I automated the glide time just to get the shape of these bends between notes to be a little bit smoother, because if you don't have this automation here, watch what the shape looks like. You can very clearly see when it starts to move and when it stops moving, but with this automation it kind of like eases the movement in and then out, so it looks a little bit smoother, I think, anyway. This sound, this is just an arpeggiator running into Serum, and then the Serum patch is pretty much just like it's like a triangle wave with a tiny bit of pulse at the end, running through a bandpass filter. That bandpass is being automated over time with these automation curves that I drew in right there, and then it's running through some reverb and some EQ, and that's pretty much it. And then this one is a little more interesting. I have it running through a very fast arpeggiator that like repeatedly triggers a note. And then I have this random value set to sample and hold and freeze, which gives us a random value each time that note is triggered. That then is linked to the pitch of oscillator 1, which is just a sine wave. The envelope is set pretty short. And then it's running through some Valhalla room reverb and then some gain automation as well. So basically just triggers random notes over time. And then that oscillator 1 is being transposed downwards as the piece moves on. So it starts up very high, then that transposition is being moved downwards. Even though the pitch is random of every note, the average pitch of the entire cluster just kind of moves down. Yeah, so this one I believe is just just white noise with some filters, some bandpass filters, and those are being automated over time. So this one has a very fast LFO that gradually slows down. And then this one is some additional shaping. So the output of the white noise goes into filter 1, the output of filter 1 goes into filter 2. We can see that filter 1 is doing that fast kind of fluttery sound, which is coming from the LFO modulating the frequency. And then filter number 2 is just being gradually automated over time. So it kind of just comes in from the top of the spectrum and then it eases out from the top of the spectrum. So it's just very subtle. We also have this sound right here. This is another instance of Vital. It's just oscillator 1 being FM'd by oscillator 2. Oscillator 2 is also going straight to the effects, which is just a reverb. Then oscillator 1 is going directly into filter 1, which goes into filter 2, which then goes to the effects. So notice that the reverb tail on this percussive sound was very pitched. So I took another sound. This is more of an arrangement thing. I took this other sound here, and I matched it to that pitch, and then I used an LFO to gradually modulate the oscillator 1 tuning over time, and then some filter automation, then of course some reverb here. So modulating that filter cutoff, the modulation amount, and the LFO frequency over time, we then got this shape. then I automated as well the reverb mix amount. So it starts with no reverb and it changes to having full reverb. So that's how we got that kind of like starting on a single note and then kind of gradually changing to a sine wave and then just becoming like a blur of noise. This one is pretty much identical to the previous percussive vital sound, but what I did was I changed the filter 2 cutoff and some of these envelope settings over time, so we get like more of a lyrical sound towards the end. So there's that, and then this changes, settings change, and it makes it kind of let those notes trail off a little bit more. And then this sound right here, the final sound, this is literally just a saw wave with a really, really steep spectral filter. So this spectral filter option in Vital lets you draw your own custom filter shapes. So I just made like a really narrow band, and then if let's turn up this reverb here. We can then pretty much more or less just select which harmonic of that saw wave we want to come through. So I did that. I just had a saw wave holding out over time, lots of reverb on it, and then had that filter, the spectral filter cutoff, just gradually come down and end right on that note. And that's it. That's the whole piece. Pretty short and sweet, but I had quite a few people asking me for a tutorial on this, so I hope those of you who were asking actually end up watching this. But yeah, that's all I've got for you today. I'm going to throw this project file up on Patreon if you're interested, if you want to poke around in it. It does use Serum and Valhalla Room, so if you don't have those plugins, it won't open exactly as it is on my computer right here. But if you do, you're in luck. So that's all I've got for you today. I hope you found this inspiring and informative and helpful, and go make some music.